Looking very much the same as you did the last time we saw you. I don't know. I don't know about that. Spring practice starting tomorrow, and we'll go in helmets by NCAA rule. The first two practices Wednesday and Friday, and then starting pads on Saturday. We'll have a pads practice Tuesday and Thursday of next week, and then break for spring break, and then come back and finish it up with obviously the spring game March 31st, which we're looking forward to. We've had 14 off-season workouts with our entire staff. Being back from recruiting, we started the Monday of signing date. And obviously, Coach Dillman and his staff have been working with our guys since January. And I've been, pretty pleased with the conditioning of our football team. You look at the catapult numbers and the change of direction, and the speed's improved in the last 2 years tremendously. I think a lot of that attributes to recruiting, but I also think our strength staff does an outstanding job. So I like where our team is at this point. We still have miles to travel, obviously. Injury report right now, Bryson Allen Williams and Jalen Dickerson will be in non-contact jerseys. They'll be in a yellow jersey. They will take part in all one-on-one situations, 7-on-7, but will not be in any contact situations for the entire spring. But you will see them partake in part of practice. Taven Jackson has got a limited with a hamstring, and Shy is limited with an ankle. I do not know how long it'll be. I don't think it'll be long-term. I think they'll be back within a couple days. Mon Denson, we will get back after spring break. So he will not be able to be cleared till we get back at some point. The guys that will definitely be out for all of spring is Ernest Jones, Jamias Williams, Aaron Thompson, Levante Valentine, and Anton Wilder. So that's kind of where we are on the injury front. C.J. Freeman and Jared Washington both come to me and will transfer after the semester. I believe Jared will graduate in May as an internship through the summer, but we wish both of those guys well. Position changes, we're going to rep Zach Bailey at guard. Zach obviously, played the year before at guard and played at right tackle. Certainly could go back to tackle if need be, but we want to rep him back inside. Start out spring with Donnell Stanley at the center position. But another guy that can rep multiple spots up front. And then we're going to give Malik Young an opportunity to play some defensive line and see how that transfers. We only have Kobe and Javon as far as mainstays up front, inside. Kier has played end and tackle, but we don't have a lot of quality experience behind that. So we're going to see how that goes through spring. We do have some class conflicts I'll hit on. A.J. Turner, Malik Young, Christian Pellage, several guys that may or may not be there during the flex session. I know how you guys are. You pull your rosters out, figure who's not at practice, and then I get phone calls all night of why they weren't at practice. So just to let you know, that's where they are. That we do go to class here. So we're proud of those young men. Very pleased with the staff and how things are going to this point. And Brian on offensive side of the ball, and of course T-Rob back on defense. Dan's been a really good addition for us, but it's been a very good off-season as far as working with the staff, offensively, defensively, special teams. We spent a lot of time going through our film from last season, moving forward. What are the things we need to do to improve? Put our guys in better situations to be successful, roster management as far as obviously recruiting, but the present guys on campus and what do they do best, and looking at those situations moving forward. And the good thing about spring is we'll have a practice. In most situations we have a day off, not a day off, we'll have meetings, but not practice, and we're able to spend a lot of time on opponents for next season and obviously managing our football team here on campus. And I'll open it up for any questions.
Raise your hand. Microphone's here.
Will, you already mentioned some of the offensive line position moves. Who are you looking at to play right tackle after Bailey moves back inside?
Blake Camper had a really good offseason. I'm pleased with his play last year. Thought he did a really nice job when Zach was injured. And, we feel comfortable there. Blake at right tackle, Sedarius Hutchinson at right guard, Donnell Stanley at center, Zach at left guard, and Dennis Daly at left tackle. And, if you ask me, my two biggest concerns would probably be depth and experience in the offensive line. And the safety position, guys that would jump out at you that we lost some really good football players, and that depth on the offensive line after that first five is, we got to have some guys come along.
Coach Muschamp, at this time of year, like you said, you mentioned how the team has improved, especially with off-season and conditioning and workouts. Do you feel like this is the most important time of the football year?
Well, it's all important. It comes down to how you do on game day. But certainly when you build the foundation of your team, this is where it starts. And each team is different. I told the team when we had a team meeting in January, the 2018 football team starts today. It doesn't start in August when we report to camp. It starts right now. And you've got to continue to build that. And we look at it as in phases of the off-season program is phase one, and spring practice is phase two. and we'll worry about the rest of them after spring ball. But right now, we've got an opportunity to play the game of football, which when you're in the all-season program, you're in shorts. The football's not there. So there's a lot of guys that look real good in shorts running around, and there'll be a bunch tomorrow and Friday. We'll find out on Saturday.
Will, how will you split your quarterback reps, and is the number 2 spot, up for grabs? You expect it to be real competitive?
Every position on our team is up for grabs, at the end of the day. And so regardless of what you've accomplished a year before, you got to come out and perform at a high level every day. So that position certainly is Michael Skarnecki was a backup last year, and going into the spring we'll rep as the backup, and Jay Urick will have plenty of opportunity as to carry on Joyner.
Coach, I know you've talked about in the past, strength and conditioning coach being probably one of the most important guys on your staff. For the guys that come in early, the early enrollees, how important is it being able to have those guys figure it out early on? And, what have you seen with some of their progression so far?
Well, I think, the biggest thing is the work capacity. They're being asked to do that. They've never done that before as far as the amount of effort they've had to put forth minute to minute, hour to hour. They've never been asked to do that. And Jeff and his staff, orient them in the weight room in January as far as, number one, techniques and lifting, teaching them the proper techniques, which is critical. The worst thing that can happen to do in the weight room is get hurt in the weight room. So starting ground level of just anticipating that they know nothing and go and teach from there. But then to go through the off-season program, which is a pretty grueling program, 4 days a week of linear motion and 2 days of it, and it's change of direction the other 2, and coaches pushing you to the limit. There's no question it's beneficial for a guy to come mid-year as far as that. But as much as anything, it's an academic issue to come in academically and get their feet on the ground. And college is time management, learning how to manage your time, because there's going to be a time when you got to manage the academic side, the athletic side. You obviously always have the social side of it, so you've got to learn to manage all that time. The great thing about this part of time for us, we're not getting ready for a game. So they don't have that pressure of having to game plan and get ready for a game. We're being able to teach and implement the system. So all around for a student athlete, it's very beneficial.
Coach, how did you see Debo handle his injuries in this offseason, and what are you looking for from him in the spring here?
Well, I saw him attack the offseason like I felt like he would. The injuries obviously were very frustrating for him. But, he's a great young man. He understands the situation. Control the things you can control is what we talk about all the time. And the injuries happen. We can grieve about it for a short time, but we got to get ready to move on. And that's what he's done, and done very quickly. And I'm extremely proud of how he's approached the all-season program and how he's worked. And we're going to gradually move him through spring as he sees fit. But he's been cleared, and it looks good.
Well, a couple of questions. First, how will you handle Evan Henson as basketball winds up? Will he be out here?
He is a basketball player till basketball season's over.
And also, I noticed Stephen Davis Jr. is back on the roster. How did that go of getting him back onto the team?
Stephen came to me and just, felt like he wanted another opportunity to play football, and we gave him that opportunity.
It seemed like Alan Knott and Corey Helms were both considered the leaders of the offensive line. With some concerns there and some position changes, have you seen guys step up to kind of fill those leadership roles?
Well, I think we've got some experienced guys in the group, and you talk in terms of the amount of snaps that Zach's played. Obviously, Dennis played all of last year for us. Blake Campers played for us. Sedarius Hutchinson's now moving into his 3rd season, and Donnell Stanley's been a mainstay for us. He had the terrible injury our first year and had to miss the entire season, but getting him back last year and playing at a high level. So all 5 of those guys have played good football for us, and certainly all have very good, in my opinion, leadership capabilities. And as we move forward, I've been pleased at this point. Now we need to continue to press forward.
In terms of early enrollees, how much can a good spring vault them into playing time in the fall, or is this kind of a period just to kind of get their feet wet and get them accustomed to the speed of things?
No, we need to find out who can help us. We don't have a deep enough roster right now to get anybody's feet wet. So at the end of the day, we're going to throw them in the ocean and see what happens. And I've been very pleased with those guys and how their work ethic and how they've come in and worked and continued. You've seen the improvement in just in a 3-week time that we've been with them as far as how they've continued to evolve. And but we're expecting those guys, they get an opportunity to go out for 15 days and prove their mettle, what they can do for our football team to help us. And if they can help us, they'll play. It's no different. I told them in the recruiting, if you're good enough, you'll play. If you're the best, you'll start. That's up to you, not me.
Well, a two-part question on the quarterbacks. One, how much better do you feel about your quarterback depth than you did at this time last year? And then also, would you ideally like to get one of the younger quarterbacks to play some, this year, at least when you're way ahead or something like that, as opposed to last year when Jake was the only QB that attempted a pass?
Well, I think that, again, I feel much better depth from the standpoint of having 4 scholarship players that we feel comfortable with, that we've recruited, we've evaluated, that we feel like can certainly help us win ball games. As far as playing another quarterback and getting ahead in the games, we're getting way ahead of ourselves right now. But I appreciate your confidence in our scoring ability. I'll let Brian know.
What, if anything, concept-wise, has Dan brought with him that he's implemented or started to implement with Brian?
Well, I think schematically we're very similar to some things he's done at Ole Miss and that we were already kind of doing here, and continuing to identify what do our players do best. But I think, trying to dictate the tempo of the game more than anything, changing tempos, but playing at a faster pace as much as anything.
How much time do he and the quarterbacks get to spend together leading up to spring practice? I mean, will this be the first time they really get to know each other?
No, by NCAA rules, we're allowed to meet during the off season with our players 2 hours a week. So we've been able to do that in working with the off season program. So we've had opportunities to meet.
Coach, in the couple months that you've had Brian McClendon as your offensive coordinator, of course, you haven't really seen much on the field other than the Outback Bowl, but what have you liked about what he's brought so far in the past 2 months?
Well, I think, at the end of the day, the kids have to have belief in what they're doing, and certainly it starts with that person. And he does a great job with our players and handling our football players and hitting the right buttons and pushing them when you need to push them and back off when you need to back off. And but there's a mutual respect between the players and him, and excited about our future.
Is it something as simple as junking what you did in the past offensively and starting fresh, or will the things that you take from last year and bring forward?
No, we did some good things. At the end of the day, we got to score more points. So I thought that the inside zone's the inside zone, a stretch play's a stretch play, a gap play's a gap play, and six-man protection's a six-man protection. We've got to continue to improve and execute better in those situations, which to me, when you talk in terms of execution, that goes back to coaching them better and putting our guys in better situations to be successful.
Will, you mentioned depth on the defensive line. Who are some guys that you're looking to step up there, and what led to the decision to move Malik over there?
Well, just depth from a standpoint of an experienced player. And you look at Kobe and Javon are the only 2 guys on our roster that have taken snaps inside on defense. Malik's a fast twitch athlete, a guy that plays extremely hard, a guy that has played before. So he checked out all the boxes as far as from sitting down after recruiting was over and saying, okay, there's an opportunity here to help our football team if it doesn't hurt our football team on the other side of the ball. So we want to give it a look and see how it goes. Kier Thomas has played inside some. But, you're going into spring. MJ Webb needs to continue to step up for us. Aaron Sterling and Shamik Blackshear at the end position. J.J. Mbare's done some nice things, and we've seen in the all-season program as far as his movement skills. Tyreek Johnson's done some really nice things for us. Bryson will not partake in the 11-on-11 contact, but at the buck position can do some good things. Dennis Woolham's had a fantastic 2 years here at the University of South Carolina. Brad Johnson needs to take the step from year 1 to year 2. Danny Fennell needs to continue to improve, which he has. And he improved tremendously and played extremely well in the bowl game for us. So, again, there's a lot of guys, that have edge potential that I would say structure-wise, body-wise, but not as many girth guys inside to be able to hold the point. We don't get Rick Sandage till this summer, Jesus Gibbs till this summer. Those guys aren't stepping on campus. Jabari Ellis till this summer. So we need to find some answers right now instead of waiting till August to try and find some answers. That's be too late.
Coach, I know last year you guys had the spring game pretty early. You guys started spring ball quickly. What are some of the advantages being able to do that? And I wouldn't call it disadvantages, but what are some of the biggest challenges having to start earlier?
Well, I think the biggest challenge is being able to really watch your film and digest your film from the season, because we spend a lot of time working on what we did and what we need to do to improve. So our staff has spent a lot of time being able to do that. Obviously, having a change on the offensive side of the ball, We've spent some weekends up here and some late nights up here trying to get things done and to get ready for spring. But, the two most important things to me as far as our team is concerned is our team and their health and recruiting. And so when you're able to have a spring game that's early, there's no other SEC teams having a spring game on March 31st. So I'm not competing with anybody to get a young man on our campus on March 31st. And from that standpoint, in the first standpoint is our team and their health. We have a spring game March 31st. If there is an injury, I've got another month for a young man to get back for the fall. And that's a whole another month to get ready instead of having it on April 21st and you got to wait a week to have surgery and now you're drifting into May. So the two most important things to me is our team and recruiting, and that's going to help as much as anything. The one thing I have learned here, there is no good weekend in the spring for a spring game. There's a lot going on, and I've gotten all your emails. So I appreciate it, and I appreciate all your support. But the most important thing, let's go back and talk in terms of our team and recruiting and to get as many of those guys on campus. We're going to have a great crowd for the spring game, but I know one thing, on September 1st, we're going to have 80,000 in there, and that's the most important thing. And I know we'll have a great crowd because our as passionate fan base that we have.
Two for you. Jemias Williams, I know he's not practicing this spring, but have y'all had any conversations with him about playing on offense at all or special teams? Do y'all look at him strictly as a member of the secondary?
No, he's got an opportunity to be the punt returner on special teams and contributed on teams for us last year in the coverage units, but not on offense.
And also, who are some of the young guys specifically, but just in general, that you look for on special teams in the return game?
As far as the young guys, we'll get an old guy back, Debo. He's pretty good. But Shy Smith's a guy that we're excited about that did some things for us last year. Jemias obviously was a dynamic punt returner. Corey Banks is a guy that's done some nice things. Rashad Fenton's had some days that's done nice things. As far as the true freshman coming in, I'd like to see him catch a punt live first before we say anything about who's going to be returning punts. But those would be the guys that I think, Dreek Davis has done some nice things for us in the return game. A.J. Turner is a kick returner, has done some nice things for us. But the young guys off the top of my head, I'd like to see them live first.
With moving Zach inside, does that speak to a level of confidence you have in your tackles, and what do you kind of feel you have at those positions?
I think it's about getting the best five on the field, and it's not about who is the next best right tackle or the right guard, who's the best sixth player that can help us function offensively. So I think right now moving Zach inside is the best for us.
Coach, this is a two-part question, but for a guy like Dakarian Joyner, what's the hardest part of for a freshman quarterback, and then what can he learn from a guy who's been here for a couple years in Jake Bentley?
Well, again, being a freshman quarterback is the most difficult thing you can do, whether you're talking about playing college football or you're going to the National Football League and being a rookie. It's extremely difficult. You're calling the protection, you're calling the run game. There's a lot on his plate as far as not just making decisions once the ball snapped. You look at the RPOs that we're in, reading off the line players, reading on the line players, making great decisions about where to take the football. I mean, there's a lot going on top of the fact he's taking a full load in the classroom. He's managing his life off football, off campus, all of those things. So there's a lot going on for all freshmen, but certainly at the quarterback position, there's no question there's a lot going on.
Well, you mentioned Javon Kinlaw earlier, but how have you seen him kind of attack this offseason, and where is he now compared to where he was when he first stepped on campus in terms of his role in his body?
He's about 40 pounds lighter. He's come a long way. I think more than anything, understanding about the nutrition part of it, and Kristen Coggin and her staff have done a great job, but it also takes a huge buy-in from the student athlete, and Javon's done a fantastic job of buying into that, understanding the things he needs to do to be successful, but losing the weight and getting himself in a good weight has helped his conditioning tremendously, has let him play longer and have better endurance as a player. He's gotten stronger in the weight room. That was one of the things we challenged him in the offseason, is he's got to continue to get stronger to play some of the double teams inside that he's going to have to face. So, and we've got to continue to improve there. But I think he's had a good offseason to this point.
Will this team accomplish some things that hadn't been done around here for a few years? This town felt pretty good. This campus felt pretty good about what you guys had done. How do you think these guys have approached this spring? Have they let any of that get to their heads, or they kind of put it aside?
I think that they've handled, the little success we've had very well, and it's been very little. So as I told our football team, we've made progress. We hadn't accomplished anything. So let's understand where we are. But I think when your best players are very grounded guys that approach things the right way, you're going to be fine. And that's where we are right now. Our best players are very grounded guys.
You lose Sky Moore, but how did you see Sherrod Green and Eldridge Thompson really blossom under him last year? And can you just talk about that position as a whole?
I feel very comfortable about both players as far as their playmaking ability. Both guys have had good off seasons. Eldridge had a little bit of a hip flexor there for a couple days, but he's okay. But both guys need to play well for us, and both guys I think certainly have the ability to play well for us. And I thought as they continued, as the year moved forward, they both started playing much better. The bowl practice was huge for both of them, and I thought both of them made tremendous strides in bowl practice.
Coach, I basically have a question on some of your former players. Hayden Hurst, they're on to the combine. I guess how you feel this group of players how you feel they translate? You've been an NFL guy. How do you feel they translate to the next level?
Well, I think Hayden obviously very well. I mean, a guy that's going to be able to block at the point of attack and stretch the field vertically. He's got really good hands, but I think more than anything, a competitive edge. I mean, this guy really competes at a high level. Taylor Stallworth, I think, is a guy that's very under the radar based on the NFL people I talk to, but had a fantastic year for us, can hold the point inside, can get matched up against a lesser guard and win in the pass rush, but extremely bright, extremely intelligent. I think he's got a tremendous upside. Chris Simons is a guy that I can play corner, can play nickel, can play dime, can play safety. Played safety for us last year, but coverage ability in his junior season was outstanding. Really played really good football, extremely intelligent, can play multiple positions, can return punts for you, but was also a gunner for us in coverage units. So a guy that can really cover and play in space. DJ Smith had a fantastic year for us, really played well. Jamarcus King is a guy that brings you some length at the corner position. Has long arms, made a lot of plays on the ball, improved tremendously from his junior year to his senior year in his play and playing the ball. I think both Corey and Allen will have opportunities. Both guys are gritty guys. They're tough. They're hard-nosed. They're throwbacks that they're going to go out and compete every single day. So those are the guys. I mean, combine-wise, we had Jamarcus, we had Hayden, Sky Moore we talked about earlier. Led our team in tackles for 4 straight years, instinctive, can play against the two-back run teams, can play in space, has pass rush ability, extremely smart and instinctive. Uric Jones was in the building yesterday. He's working extremely hard over in Atlanta, a guy that's be able to eat 2 blocks inside. He's got some length to him, got some size to him. Dante Sawyer had a fantastic year for us, really played extremely well for us. Was a very productive player, had a ball hawk mentality of getting the ball off people. So those are the guys. Anybody I'm missing, Steve? I think that's about it. But those guys all, they played good football for us last year. And all those guys will have some opportunities in camp, whether they're drafted or not drafted, but they'll have an opportunity to make teams.
Will the recent high-profile bad stuff that's come forward in college basketball, I don't know if you've followed that very much, but are you concerned at all that something like that involving agents or apparel companies could happen in college football? And if you're not concerned, what's the difference between the two sports as you see it?
Well, I think basketball recruiting is much more specific to numbers. In upwards of, let's just say for the 2019 class, if you could say that we're going to have probably 300 recruitable players, what we would define as recruitable. We've made a phone call. We've had an off-campus evaluation. We've had an on-campus contact. I mean, that's a recruitable player. Those are kind of the parameters. Whereas basketball, and I don't know the number because I don't recruit for basketball, but I would say what are 15 to 20 for 3 slots, maybe 25 at the most. But our sports are different in the fact that our apparel companies aren't targeting our guys at this point that I know of in high school, and that's where I think it becomes a much different between the two sports, just from my knowledge. So I think that's a huge difference, and I think the numbers of targets certainly change the landscape a little bit as far as the things that have been going on.
With the level of overall experience you guys return at the running back position, when you go into a spring like this, what do you sort of look for, being that you've already got 4 experienced guys?
Well, number one, durability, because a lot of them got hurt last year, so they need to learn to play through some pain and carry the ball. So that's number one. But at the end of the day, we've got great competition, and that's my best motivator. They got to understand that they better bring it every single day. and understand they got to go compete every single day, and they're all capable of doing that. So Mon will miss most of spring. We'll get him back after spring break. I don't know exactly what day yet, but the other guys certainly need to compete. And Deshaun Fenwick's been a freshman that's shown some explosive ability on campus.
DJ Wanham obviously had a great year last year, but how did you challenge him, and how does he take his game to the next level this coming year?
You know, you don't really have to challenge DJ. He's a self-starter. He's a guy that goes about his business. He's out there first for walkthrough every single day. He's in the building. He's up for meetings with Coach Peterson first every single day. I mean, there's certain guys that are just what I call self-starters, and they're a joy to coach because I know exactly what I'm going to get every single day from DJ. I know exactly what he's going to bring to the building every single day, what he's going to bring to the practice field every single day. But he has a self-pride about himself that it's really important to him every single day to do it the right way.
How does he kind of get better for next year, though? What does he need to improve on?
Well, I think at the point of attack in the run game, there were some things last year, especially against some of the bigger offensive linemen to hold point. And as we always talk in terms of keeping your head in your gap, if you've got C-gap responsibility, keep your head in the C-gap. So I think there's some things in the run game that he can continue to improve on. Obviously, and you're always looking to improve on and continue to expand your repertoire in the pass rush, as far as moves and counter moves to that. And that's something I know he's worked extremely hard on. So, there's always room for improvement. I mean, and he certainly can improve, but I think more than anything at the point of attack in the run game and continue to expand in the pass rush.
And kind of off topic for you, Asia Wilson just won SEC Player of the Year for the third time.
Yep.
Well, what do you think that says about her as an athlete, and how difficult is something like that to accomplish?
Well, it's extremely difficult, especially with other than UConn. SEC women's basketball is the best in the country. But it also proves that, Asia's from Columbia, and she came here and has accomplished everything she wanted to accomplish as far as a player, as an individual, but also as a team in winning a national championship and multiple SEC championships. And I know they'll make a great run in the tourney. I text back and forth with Dawn last night, and she's fired up. And when she's fired up, you better watch out. So, but Asia's got a great smile every time I see her. She lights up the room. Tremendous competitor. Love watching her play. Love watching our team play. Dawn's team. They go compete. I think our first year they may have been tougher than us. I'll be honest with you. I think we've made some strides there, but she is a great ambassador of the University of South Carolina and always will be.
Coach, I know you probably haven't had an opportunity to talk about this, but being able to see Gilmore and Jeffrey in the Super Bowl and just being able to see that graphic up there, how great is that to be able to have?
It's great advertisement for the Gamecocks, but Stefan's had an outstanding career to get him to get to New England and have that opportunity. I remember DJ Swearinger had a basketball tournament this summer, and I was there and talking to him, and he said, I'm going to New England. I want to get to the Super Bowl. And so him to be able to achieve that was awesome. And then Alshon's been great. Every time he comes back, he talks to our guys at camp and talks to our team and is always representing us the right way. And to see some of the big plays he made, especially in the first half, they kind of switched matchups on him there in the second half, and so that was interesting to watch. But he had a great year at Philadelphia and certainly had a great career with the Bears to that point. So fun to watch.
I know sometimes in the off season, some y'all coaching staffs go see one another. Have y'all gone to meet with any coaching staffs, or have any other coaches come here to meet with you guys?
I keep that to myself.
In terms of the safety position with Jalen out, do you feel like you have maybe a little short on healthy bodies kind of going into it, and how do you sort of deal with that through a spring?
Well, Javon Charleston and Stephen Montag and Zay Brown, R.J. Roderick, those guys. Kelvin Coleman's a young man that walked on our team that's in the off-season program, looks athletic. As far as being a football player, we'll find out moving forward. So I feel like we have enough numbers as far as that's concerned to get through spring. But we've got to continue. We've got to improve tremendously at the position from where we are today to get ready for September 1st. And we have some time to do that, but we've got to improve a lot.
Not, he'll see you at 9:05 tomorrow morning. Those who want to watch the flex.
Flex in 3 periods. Y'all need to hurry up off the field better than you did during the bowl game.